The first thing I noticed was that the pressure gauge was lying. The needle sat at 0, but the metal line beneath it still trembled against the frame. The Shish 12 had not simply shut down. Something inside it was holding pressure. "Clear the service side," I said. The mechanic stopped arguing. 2 firefighters stepped away while ash drifted across the county equipment yard and settled on the white Safe Harbor logo. "My name is Claire Donnelly. I am 32, and I review emergency equipment purchases for Sacramento County. Most days, that means bids, warranties, and inspection reports." That afternoon, it meant standing beside a machine built to keep wildfire evacuees alive while its vendor blamed our crew. The unit had been delivered 14 months earlier. That morning, it had lost output pressure during a routine test. The county crew said they followed the manual. Safe Harbor's representative, Mark Ellison, called it operator error. The inspection ended at 4:20. Mark wanted the cause entered before he left. "Operator deviation is the cleanest classification," he told Chief Raymond Cole. "No injuries, no damage. Clean is not the same as accurate," I said. His smile tightened. "The acquisition team is already asking questions. A vague report 7 weeks before closing creates noise." Safe Harbor was preparing to be acquired for $86 million while our contract renewal was pending. I signed an inspection pause, not a cause determination. By 5, the yard was empty. I could examine county-owned equipment, but I could not remove parts or take company documents. I waited until Mark's truck left, then went back inside. The trailer smelled like hot rubber and metal dust. My flashlight followed the pressure line toward the rear manifold. One mounting bolt was cleaner than the others. Recently handled. I opened the access panel. The outer assembly was polished and labeled. The routing underneath looked older and hand-fitted. 2 lines crossed at an angle missing from the service diagram. Beside them, scratched into the steel, were 2 letters. DD. Under the initials was a routing symbol, 3 short marks, a hooked line, and a narrow triangle. I had seen it before. My mother used to draw that symbol on repair invoices at our kitchen table. Once, I asked what it meant. "Flo has memory," she said. "Mark where it wants to go." Years later, when she claimed her brother Martin had built Safe Harbor from work that once belonged to her, I treated the story carefully. Lovingly, skeptically. Martin was a respected founder who donated equipment during fires. My mother was brilliant, wounded, and unwilling to explain what had happened. I told myself I was being fair. Looking at her initials beneath Safe Harbor plating, fairness started to feel like cowardice. I took 4 photographs. A voice behind me said, "You looking for something specific?" I turned and struck my shoulder against the frame. A Safe Harbor technician stood in the doorway. His badge read Owen Price. "I'm documenting the internal configuration." The inspection ended. "The unit belongs to the county. The protected assembly doesn't." I lowered my phone. "Is this routing standard on every Shish 12? His eyes moved to the panel. "You should put that cover back." "Who fabricated the original manifold?" "I service current units." "Then who would know?" He sent a message on his phone. "Who are you contacting?" "Headquarters." "Why?" "Because you asked about the original build." Then he left. I replaced the panel without touching anything else. Back in my office, I requested the manufacturing record for Unit SH12 to 447 and the complete safety certification history for the model line. I marked both as routine technical verification and copied only the county records custodian. I did not call my brother Nate, even though he worked at Safe Harbor. I did not call Martin. I called my mother. She answered on the 4th ring. "Mom, did you ever mark equipment with your initials?" Silence. I described the letters and the routing symbol. Her breathing changed. "Where did you see that?" "Inside a Safe Harbor unit." "Claire, do not discuss that symbol with anyone." "Why is it inside their machine?" The call ended. Then an email appeared in my county inbox. The sender was Martin Vale. "Claire, I understand you inspected one of our units today. I would appreciate the chance to clear up any confusion personally. Please come to Safe Harbor headquarters tomorrow morning. Family should speak before paperwork does." I read it twice. I had not told any member of my family what I found. But somehow, my uncle already knew. At 8:40 the next morning, I stood beneath a lobby mural of my uncle holding the first Safe Harbor prototype as if he had built it alone. Martin was younger in the painting, sleeves rolled up, one hand on the machine while smoke rose behind him. A brass plaque called him the sole inventor of the mobile emergency water system. There was no mention of Dana Donnelly. Martin came down the stairs without an assistant. He hugged me before I could offer my hand. "Claire, I wish this visit had happened under better circumstances. You invited me. He led me past photographs of wildfire deployments and into an office overlooking the fabrication floor. Workers moved between half-built trailers below us. Hundreds of jobs were visible through the glass, and Martin made sure I saw them before he closed the door. Owen said you found an old fabrication mark. He reported quickly. He followed procedure. Was DD procedure too? Martin poured 2 glasses of water. Your mother helped in the original shop, he said. Everyone did. We were family. Helped how? Bookkeeping, parts ordering, some drafting. She says the design was hers. A tired expression crossed his face. Dana was gifted, but our father left us a failing machine shop, unpaid taxes, and equipment the bank was ready to seize. I found investors. I found customers. I kept the doors open. That doesn't answer me. The first prototype failed during a buyer demonstration. A fabricator was injured. Dana blamed everyone except herself, then walked away. Who was injured? Eli Mercer. The report classified it as minor. Did he return? Not full-time. Martin said Dana signed a confidentiality agreement and accepted severance. He said there had never been an ownership dispute until Safe Harbor became successful enough for old memories to change shape. Then he offered me a job. Senior Compliance Director. Better salary and direct access to operations. I want this family repaired before the acquisition. He said, you understand public contracts. You learned that from one inspection? I've followed your career. I asked whether Nate knew about the offer. Nate knows this company gave him stability. Martin walked me back through the lobby. Beneath the mural, he touched the painted prototype. Your mother made a mistake, he said. I made sure the rest of us survived it. That sentence followed me to her house. Dana was waiting in the garage. Instead of taking me inside, she opened a dented metal tool cabinet bolted to the wall. The bottom drawer resisted until she pulled it free with both hands. Inside were supplier catalogs, carbon copy invoices, folded graph paper, and loose pages stained with grease. She placed a yellowed sheet on the workbench. I designed a trailer that could purify contaminated water and cool emergency tents from the same power unit, she said. After the Dry Creek fire contaminated 3 rural wells, counties needed something mobile. Martin said you helped with drafting. I designed the pressure routing, pump sequence, heat exchange, and service layout. He handled lenders and demonstrations because people listened to him. Their father's shop had been weeks from foreclosure. Nate needed medical testing. I was 8, and Dana was hiding overdue rent notices in her car. During the first major buyer demonstration, the pressure assembly ruptured. Metal struck Eli Mercer, cutting his arm and damaging his hearing. The prototype was destroyed in front of county officials. Martin said the routing was unstable. She told me, by Monday, my key no longer worked. By Friday, his attorney brought me a severance agreement. You signed it. I signed a confidentiality clause. I never transferred my design. Why didn't you fight? Because Nate needed care. Because you needed a home. Because the bank did not accept pride as payment. She took enough money to stop the eviction and keep Nate insured. Afterward, Martin told suppliers her calculations caused the accident. No manufacturer would hire her as a designer. Did he sabotage the prototype? I don't know. I know a component was changed. I never proved who ordered it. I asked for every record she had. Dana closed the drawer. No, Mom, you found my initials. That proves I worked on something. It does not prove the current units are unsafe, and it does not prove Martin caused that accident. He erased you, and if you go after him with half a story, he will erase you too. She finally let me photograph only the pages connected to the original pressure assembly. Near the back of the drawer, 2 photographs were stuck together. I separated them carefully. One showed Dana beside the unfinished prototype. The other carried a timestamp from 1 hour before the demonstration. I enlarged the second image and compared it with the official failure report Martin had quoted. The valve installed in the photograph was not the valve listed in that report. The difference between the 2 valves was easy to miss. One had a narrow brass relief collar. The other did not. I photographed the picture, its timestamp, and the failure report, then returned everything to Dana's drawer. What are you going to do? She asked. Find out which version Safe Harbor certified. That still won't prove Martin changed it. I know. It was the answer she wanted. I was no longer sure it was the answer I believed. For 3 nights, county warranties covered my table and insurance filings filled the couch. Across one wall, I arranged dates and model numbers from Dana's prototype to the SH-12 in our yard. I was building a record. Safe Harbor's warranty stated that every delivered unit matched its certified configuration. State procurement forms required disclosure of unresolved design claims and safety defects. The pending acquisition contained an even stronger promise. Martin had certified that no former employee, partner, contractor, or family member held an undisclosed claim to Safe Harbor's core technology. If Dana had designed the system, that statement was false or incomplete. The insurance index raised another problem. The first entry tied to Eli Mercer's injury described equipment modification during final preparation. 4 days later, the summary had been changed to design instability. Someone had rewritten the cause. I called Eli from the parking garage. "Mr. Mercer, my name is Claire Donnelly. Dana is my mother." The television went silent. "I don't discuss Safe Harbor. I found a photograph from the demonstration. The installed valve doesn't match the report. That was 24 years ago. Were you told to replace it?" His breathing changed. "Safe Harbor still pays part of my medical coverage," he said. "Hearing appointments, medication. They can make my life difficult without breaking a law. I'm not asking you to risk that today." "Then stop calling." He hung up. Chief Cole closed his office door the next morning and placed my requests between us. "You searched acquisition disclosures connected to your uncle's company. I searched vendor warranties after a county-owned unit failed. Those are now the same problem." I showed him the photograph, the valve discrepancy, and the altered insurance summary. I did not accuse Martin of sabotage. Cole listened, then pointed toward the equipment yard. "If you use county authority to settle a family dispute, you lose this job. But if we approve defective equipment, people could be hurt. Separate suspicion from evidence." "I understand." "No, you understand the words. I need you to understand the cost." Fire season was approaching. A careless accusation could interrupt deliveries. A careless approval could put faulty equipment in evacuation centers. I promised I would stay inside my authority. The manufacturing file arrived that afternoon. Several early maintenance pages were out of sequence. Teresa Alvarez, the county records clerk, noticed the scan numbers jumped backward and then forward. "These pages were inserted later," she said. "Can you prove when?" "Not from this copy. I can request the source metadata." It was not proof of fraud, but it was enough for a technical action. I filed a discrepancy report limited to 3 facts. The failed SHISH-12 did not match its service diagram, the historical configuration file was inconsistent, and the county could not verify that the delivered model matched its certification. The report triggered 2 contract provisions. Safe Harbor had to preserve all manufacturing, maintenance, and certification records connected to the SH-12 line. Approval of the next shipment was frozen. Existing units remained in service. I had not ordered a recall, filed a lawsuit, or named Martin. Safe Harbor's attorneys responded before 5. Their letter accused me of exceeding my authority, misusing acquisition information, and creating commercial harm through an undisclosed family conflict. Martin did not call me. He called Dana. She arrived at my apartment holding the letter. "He says he's worried about you." That sounds better than saying he wants me stopped. "He says the county could fire you." He may be right. Dana studied the timeline on my wall. "You told me you were checking the current equipment." "I am. This is becoming something else." Before I could answer, my phone rang from a new number. The caller introduced herself as Simone Park, a forensic auditor for the company preparing to acquire Safe Harbor. "I'm not calling because I believe you," she said. "Right now, I consider you an undisclosed family risk to an $86 million transaction." "Then why call? Your report forced us to compare Safe Harbor's public history with its internal financial models." Dana moved closer. In the acquisition disclosures, Simone continued, Dana Donnelly is listed as a former bookkeeper. That is Martin's version. Our royalty projections use a different description for an unnamed early contributor. I looked at my mother. "What description?" Simone paused. "Original system architect. Original system architect." The words stayed on speakerphone between us. Simone would not send the internal file. She agreed to review anything I could support independently, but warned that suspicion would not survive an acquisition audit. "I need records, not a family account," she said. "Send the prototype photograph and conflicting valve report through my secure link." After the call, Dana stared at the timeline on my wall. "Nate knows more than he has told us," she said. I wanted to disagree. Nate had spent years defending Martin whenever our mother mentioned the old shop. He called the argument unhealthy and reminded us that hundreds of employees depended on Safe Harbor. But Nate was also the communications director. If Martin had rewritten Dana's role for the public, my brother had helped repeat it. I asked him to meet me at headquarters before his shift ended. He found me beneath the lobby mural, where Martin's painted hand rested on the prototype and Dana's name remained absent. "You should not be here," Nate said. Did you know Mom designed the original system? His eyes moved toward the security camera. Not here. We crossed into an empty conference room overlooking the fabrication floor. Nate closed the blinds. I knew she contributed. Contributed? I knew it was more than bookkeeping. How long? Years. Every time Dana tried to explain what happened, Nate treated her like someone trapped inside an old grievance. I had followed his lead often enough to feel ashamed of both of us. You let Martin build his founder story on her supposed mistake. I kept my family insured. So did she. That was how he got her silence. Nate said he joined Safe Harbor after his oldest child was born. The salary paid medical bills, the benefits covered his wife's treatment, and Martin gave him a career after a newspaper layoff. Then he pointed through the blinds. Those workers did not steal anything from Mom. Welders, drivers, service crews. Martin kept the shop alive and built something that employs almost 400 people. He also erased her. If this sale collapses, the buyer could cut half the workforce before Christmas. I asked where Safe Harbor kept its archived engineering change notices. Nate went still. The early notices aren't digital, I said. You know where the originals are. I am not stealing company records for you. I'm asking you to preserve records Safe Harbor is already required to preserve. No, you're asking me to choose you and Mom over everyone who works here. You already chose. He opened the blinds and left. Dana was less surprised than I expected. I told him to take that job, she said later. She stood in her hallway holding an old photograph of herself, Martin, Nate, and me outside the original shop. I wanted one of you to get something good from what happened. Nate remembered the eviction notices in hospitals. Martin offered him a door out, and I told him to walk through it. She placed the photograph face down inside a drawer. That evening, I uploaded the prototype image, valve comparison, and insurance discrepancy to Simone's secure portal. Her reply contained 6 words. This is enough to widen review. A confidential audit began the next morning. It did not prove Dana owned the design, but it forced Safe Harbor to support its founder disclosures and explain the unnamed architect in its financial projections. For the first time, Martin's deferred payout was exposed. A large portion depended on the acquisition closing without a material disclosure failure. 2 days later, my badge failed at the county entrance. The light flashed red. Chief Cole met me outside. An anonymous complaint alleged I had downloaded confidential vendor records for personal use. The records were within my normal access, but Safe Harbor argued that my family connection made every action suspect. You're suspended from vendor systems pending review, Cole said. Does the shipment hold remain? For now. What about SH-12447? His expression answered first. Safe Harbor had used a warranty service clause to remove the unit from the county yard that morning. It was already on a truck back to headquarters. The independent engineer I requested never saw it. By noon, the access panel, routing marks, and mismatched assembly were behind Safe Harbor's gates. That night, Teresa Alvarez emailed my personal account. She had pulled exterior security footage before my access was suspended. The video showed Safe Harbor's archive corridor at 9:18 p.m. Nate entered alone. 7 minutes later, he came out carrying the exact gray storage case that held the original engineering change notices. He looked directly at the camera before walking away. Nate looked directly at the camera before walking away. At 1:17 the next morning, someone knocked once on my apartment door. Nate stood outside in his work clothes. He handed me a plain envelope but would not come in. I did not take the case for Martin, he said. The archive logs every scan and file request. I moved it before legal could relocate the originals. Where is the rest? Somewhere they cannot destroy it without admitting they knew it existed. Inside the envelope was one engineering change notice dated 12 days before the prototype demonstration. Dana had requested a pressure relief assembly with a brass collar and higher heat tolerance. Beneath her recommendation was authorization for a cheaper replacement. Approved, M. Vale. The difference was $87 per unit. Why only one page? One missing page can be called a filing mistake. An entire missing case becomes theft. He told me not to call his work phone or his house. Then he left. By sunrise, his number went straight to voicemail. His wife said he had gone away for several days without explaining where. The security footage had looked like betrayal. The paper in my hand told a different story. Nate had moved the records to protect them. He just was not ready to let anyone see which side he had chosen. Dana read the notice at her workbench, then opened a current Safe Harbor parts catalog. Her fingers stopped on the low-cost component package used in the SH-12. They are still using it. Not the exact same model. The housing change. The failure path did not. She connected a regulator, tubing, a heat gun, and a small pump across the bench. At normal temperature, the cheaper valve held. When she added heat and restricted the outlet, the gauge began to pulse. Pressure climbed, dropped, then climbed again while the line shook against its clamp. "That is what your county unit was doing," she said. For years, Dana had wanted Martin to admit what he stole. Watching that line tremble changed her goal. "How many are deployed?" I checked the public registry. 9 SH-12 units were assigned across 3 counties. 4 were already staged near communities preparing for wildfire evacuations. "We stopped them," she said. "To force a recall, we need an independent technical finding. Then get one. I am suspended. I spent 24 years letting him call me bitter because I could not prove what happened to me. I will not let him gamble with people who never agreed to be part of it." Simone arranged a private meeting with Eli Mercer. He let us into his home only after she promised in writing that the acquisition company would protect his cooperation. Old wildfire footage played silently on his television. He used captions because the accident had left him with severe hearing loss in one ear. Dana placed the photograph and change notice on his table. Eli stared at Martin's initials. "I installed the safe valve 3 days before the demonstration," he said. Dana tested it herself. "Who ordered the replacement?" Simone asked. "Martin came onto the floor the night before the buyers arrived. He said the lender wanted the production cost lower. I told him the cheaper valve had failed under heat." "What did he say?" "That the demonstration would run 20 minutes, not 6 hours in a fire zone." Eli retrieved 3 small shift books from a cabinet. He had recorded assignments and part numbers because management sometimes changed official sheets after jobs were finished. One entry listed Martin's replacement order. The next described the pressure pulse minutes before the assembly ruptured. "He did not tell me to make it fail," Eli said. "I cannot say he wanted anyone hurt. But he knew Dana rejected that valve, and afterward, the report blamed her routing." Supplier records completed the sequence. Dana had ordered the safer assembly. A credit memo issued the day before the demonstration showed Martin canceled it and substituted the cheaper part. Simone scanned every page. "This establishes that he authorized the change and concealed Dana's warning," she said. "It does not prove intentional sabotage. It proves the founder disclosure is false. And it may prove the current certification is incomplete. I still need the SH-12 component records." Safe Harbor responded before she could request them formally. Its attorneys said the current valve had been redesigned, tested, and approved. They warned that removing deployed units during peak wildfire preparation would leave evacuation centers without cooling or clean water capacity. Martin released a statement calling the issue an old family dispute being used to threaten essential services. He put workers and evacuees between himself and the truth, then dared us to move. Chief Cole called from his personal phone. "We cannot order a regional recall from a garage test," he said. "But I sent your pressure pattern to every county using the SH-12. They are monitoring the units manually." An emergency alert sounded from Dana's phone. A wildfire had crossed a containment line north of Sacramento. One SH-12 was operating at a high school converted into an evacuation center. Cole stopped mid-sentence. "I have their equipment supervisor on the other line." Dana reached for my phone. "Ask what the gauge is doing." I heard wind, engines, and voices in the background. Then the supervisor answered. "It keeps dropping and climbing. About 6 pounds each cycle." Dana closed her eyes. On her workbench, the test line began to tremble in the same rhythm. The field unit was showing the exact pressure fluctuation she had predicted. The field supervisor shut the SH-12 down before the pressure cycle could climb higher. Evacuees were moved into the gym, where portable fans and bottled water replaced the cooling and filtration lines. No one was injured, but the near failure gave Chief Cole the independent event he needed. He reinstated my vendor access for one purpose: document the incident. By sunrise, I had the field logs, gauge readings, temperature data, and statements from the equipment crew. The 6-pound pressure swing matched Dana's bench test almost exactly. Safe Harbor called it an isolated sensor problem. The county engineer called it a mechanical warning. Simone expanded the acquisition audit before Martin's attorneys could narrow the issue. She requested the SH-12 component history, early design credit agreements, and every record tied to the founder warranty Martin had signed. Eli gave a sworn statement. 2 retired fabricators, Rosa Jimenez and Calvin Brooks, did the same. Both remembered Dana running the prototype tests and Martin ordering cost reductions before the demonstration. Dana opened the metal cabinet again and found supplier invoices beneath old tax forms. The part numbers matched the safer brass collar valve. A credit memo showed Martin canceled the order the day before the accident. The records did not prove he wanted the prototype to rupture. They proved he knew Dana had rejected the cheaper valve, authorized it anyway, and allowed the failure report to blame her design. Lydia Vale came to my apartment without warning. Martin's daughter had spent 12 years running safe harbor operations. Until that week, I had treated her as an extension of him. She placed the acquisition agreement on my table. My father told me the founder disclosure was routine, she said. My future ownership and the employees' retention bonuses depend on this sale. And the disclosure is false. If your mother is the original architect, yes. Lydia had confronted Martin that morning. He told her Dana was trying to rewrite history and that protecting the company was now Lydia's responsibility. She studied the timeline on my wall. I can keep the factories operating if the board removes him, she said. But I need evidence strong enough that the buyer cannot call this a family ambush. I gave her nothing confidential. I showed her where public filings contradicted the official company history and let Simone control the rest. That was when I stopped seeing every Vale as the enemy. Martin had used workers as a shield. Lydia was trying to keep them from becoming casualties. Nate returned 2 days later. He did not ask forgiveness. He gave Simone the location of the archived storage case and signed a statement explaining why he moved it. Then he recorded a message for Safe Harbor employees. He admitted the communications department had minimized earlier pressure complaints and repeated a founder history he knew was incomplete. I told myself I was protecting jobs, he said. But protection built on missing facts becomes another kind of harm. The company suspended him before the recording finished circulating. The final acquisition review was scheduled for Monday morning. Our response had to land in 3 places at once. Chief Cole prepared a county recommendation suspending new safe harbor purchases and requiring inspection of deployed SHISH-12 units. Simone prepared an acquisition warranty challenge based on the undisclosed design claim, altered founder history, and current safety risk. Dana's attorney prepared a civil demand seeking recognition of her ownership interest, unpaid design compensation, and preservation of the original engineering records. None of those actions guaranteed victory. The county could stop buying equipment, but it could not seize the company. The buyer could abandon the sale, but it could not declare Dana the inventor. Dana could sue, but 24 years of delay created real legal risk. Martin understood those limits. On Sunday evening, he asked Dana to meet him at the original machine shop. The building had been preserved behind Safe Harbor headquarters like a private museum. Their father's faded workbench remained beneath the front window. Martin waited there alone. He offered Dana $8 million. In exchange, she would sign a statement saying her early concerns involved only the original prototype and had no relationship to the current SHISH-12 issue. She would receive private acknowledgement of her design contribution, but Safe Harbor's public founder history would remain unchanged. You would be secure for the rest of your life, he told her. And the sale closes. The workers keep their jobs. Your payout survives. He did not deny it. Martin said he saved the shop when no bank would wait and no customer trusted an untested machine. Dana had created something brilliant, he said, but never understood what survival required. Dana listened without raising her voice. Then she placed 2 valves on their father's workbench. The safer brass collar assembly she had ordered. The newer component removed from the evacuation center unit. She left them side by side and walked out without answering his offer. At 6 the next morning, our 3 filings were submitted. The county suspension recommendation reached Safe Harbor's board. Simone delivered the warranty challenge to the buyer. Dana's civil demand was served at corporate headquarters. The review began at 9 inside Safe Harbor's glass conference room. Acquisition documents covered the table. The independent safety engineer sat beside the failed component and the field data. Dana chose the seat facing the door. Martin entered carrying a settlement folder. He expected to find his sister alone and ready to sign. Instead, he saw Dana, me, Nate, Eli, Lydia, Simone, and the independent engineer waiting together. Martin stopped just inside the doorway. He did not look like the founder in the mural. He looked like a man who had entered a room arranged around evidence he could no longer control. Simone opened with the acquisition warranty. Safe Harbor had disclosed no unresolved founder dispute, hidden design claim, or material safety condition. Dana's photographs, supplier invoices, engineering notice, and the internal reference to an original system architect contradicted every promise Martin had signed. He refused to call the disclosure false. He called it incomplete history. The independent engineer placed the failed component beside Dana's safer valve. Under the heat and pressure recorded at the evacuation center, the newer assembly reproduced the same cycling pattern Dana had warned about 24 years earlier. "That does not prove sabotage," Martin said. "No one said it did," Simone answered. "It proves you approved the cheaper valve, signed a report blaming Dana's routing, and later certified that no unresolved design or safety issue existed." Eli's logs established the replacement order. Rosa and Calvin confirmed Dana ran the original tests. Nate's statement explained why the engineering notices vanished from the digital record. Then Lydia placed the board packet in front of her father. "You told me I was inheriting a company you built," she said. "You were asking me to inherit your omissions too." Martin looked at Dana. "I kept the doors open. You kept my name off them," she said. He still would not admit he intended the prototype to fail. Intent was the one piece we could not prove. But he could not explain the altered report, the cancelled safety order, the false founder disclosure, or why a current field unit carried the same dangerous pressure path. The buyer withdrew before noon. Without the acquisition, Martin lost most of the deferred payout tied to closing. Safe Harbor's board removed his operational authority and ordered an independent review of every SHISH-12 unit. He was not arrested. No judge appeared to settle 24 years in one afternoon. The board appointed Lydia interim operations chief under an independent safety team. She suspended shipments, began a phased recall, and arranged temporary equipment so counties would not lose cooling and clean water capacity. The factories stayed open, though contracts paused and overtime disappeared for a while. The workers still felt the cost of decisions they had never made. I helped Lydia and Chief Cole build a replacement schedule. Protecting the workforce did not excuse Martin. It made sure he could not use them as a shield again. Nate lost his position in communications. He and I did not repair our relationship with one apology. We started with coffee and the uncomfortable work of admitting how often we had treated our mother's pain like an inconvenience. Dana was slower with him. She was slower with all of us. Her civil claim lasted months. The final agreement recognized her as co-designer of the original system and gave her a minority ownership payment, back royalties tied to verified product lines, and a public correction of Safe Harbor's founder history. Part of the settlement funded county inspections and compensation for Eli and other former workers whose injuries or complaints had been minimized. Dana refused a private reconciliation meeting with Martin. "Recognition is not forgiveness," she said. "Payment does not return a life." Martin kept personal assets and a reduced ownership interest, but he lost operational control, his acquisition payout, and the heroic founder image he had spent decades protecting. The last time I saw him during the restructuring, he stood beneath the mural that showed him alone with the prototype. "Was destroying the sale worth risking all these jobs?" he asked. I did not answer with a speech. Across the lobby, Lydia was meeting supervisors about keeping both fabrication shifts open. Nate was helping former employees prepare compensation statements. Dana was reviewing corrected pressure specifications. I walked past Martin and joined them. 3 months later, workers removed the mural. In its place, Safe Harbor installed a technical timeline showing the original shop team, the prototype tests, and the design contributions that had been erased. Dana's name appeared beside the pressure routing system. At the county equipment yard, a corrected unit arrived with a redesigned relief assembly and an independent certification plate. Dana ran her fingers across the metal before the crew started the pump. The plate read, "Original system co-designed by Dana Donnelly." The machine came to pressure and held steady. We did not recover the 24 years Martin took from her. We did not rebuild every relationship he damaged. But from that day forward, every Safe Harbor unit carried the name he had tried to erase.